Cathay Pacific has seen tremendous success in the past decades, becoming the industry leader of the airlines industry. And today, our responsibility is to help you continue this success and grow even further in the future to sustain this market position. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stanley, and together with my colleagues, Tommy, Regis, and Tiffany, we're super excited to present to you our analysis and strategy to bring Cathay Pacific to the next level. Today, we understand that you have a goal to not position yourself as only an airline company, but rather a lifestyle company. What this means is that you wish to immerse your product offerings and services to the lifestyle of your customers. We also identify several key strengths that you hold. First of all, you have a wide range of international network thanks to your capabilities and your partners. And secondly, you have a very wide customer base coming from your strong reputation. So moving forward, we would like to highlight some of the threats and opportunities faced reshaping this airline industry. The most disruptive technology that we've faced is big data, AI, augmented reality. These might be threats, but also opportunities that you can leverage on to improve your customer experience. And today, we're going to take a very design thinking, customer-centric approach to think of how can we improve your products, services, as well as your customer journey to be more future-proof. This leads to our key question today, which is how can Cathay Pacific leverage on emerging technologies to improve your customer experience? When we take a deep dive into your current customer journey, there is the preparation stage, including booking, follow-up, as well as preparing to fly, departure stage, including check-in, boarding, and airport activities, as well as in-flight service such as from takeoff all the way to landing. And our focus today will be on the second and third stage. We believe that in the preparation stage, we have already leveraging on some external partners, which are both partners as well as competitors in terms of our booking service, such as Skyscanner or Trip.com, which is reshaping the customer journey in the preparation stage. We would like to shift your focus in the departure and in-flight stage. The reason is because, first of all, it differentiates you, as well as this is the core competencies that you can leverage on. So our focus today is to first, define customer pain points. Secondly, design the whole in-flight and departure experience, as well as, most importantly, measure the impact. This leads to the first insight today, which is that there is a gap between airport facilities provided as well as the customer expectations, specifically in the departure stage. We noticed that customers are actually unsatisfied with the current airport facilities and the journey. We would like to bring your attention to the low customer satisfaction rate across all airports. For example, in my homeland, the Taipei Taoyuan Airport actually has only a 28% satisfaction rate, which is very low. However, they're forced to stay in these airport facilities, which they can spend up to 15 hours in terms of layover, as well as waiting for different departures. So there's definitely a gap and pain point to solve in the departure stage. Moving on to the in-flight stage, our second insight is that improving the in-flight customer experience can increase your competitiveness as well as the customer loyalty. So first of all, we noticed that in the airline industry, there is an increased challenge coming from budget airlines. And our differentiation point is your in-flight service. Therefore, we would like to focus on improving this customer experience stage. We also like to highlight that in-flight service has the longest touch point with the lowest distraction, which in this stage, if you capture and make your customers satisfied, they're more willing to increase their customer loyalty to your brand. Therefore, leveraging on the two insights we delivered to you today, we would like to present to you our two-pronged strategy: get ready, take off. And together, we will not only be increasing your top-line revenue, but also increasing your customer experience. I'll now pass my time to my colleague, Tiffany.
Thank you, Stanley. As we have identified that there is a gap existing between the airport facilities provided versus the customer satisfaction, we would like to proudly introduce you to our first strategy, get ready, and tapping into the three key pain points faced by our customers by introducing a generative AI. And our key pain points would be many of our customers being facing busy or being unfamiliar to the airport facilities or even feeling bored about them. And therefore, we hope to utilize Gen AI and improve their customer experiences. Let's first look into how do we identify these key pain points. We have actually dissected our customer into 4 major segments by their experience level in terms of flying, as well as whether or not they are a business or a leisure customer. So based on their different experiences and their necessities, we have identified that most of our business customers are actually facing a really busy lifestyle. And in terms of their busy lifestyle, this actually makes that they might feel irritated when they're using the airport facilities. For example, when they're actually in a meeting and have to dial a phone, they cannot find a quiet place to do so. Or when they just want to take a rest, they feel struggle to do so as well. On the other hand, for unfamiliarity, for very many of the inexperienced flyers, they're actually facing a difficulty in finding the correct airport facilities. Say, for example, finding the boarding gate, finding what transport to take in terms of like transit in the Hong Kong airport. Many of these unfamiliarities are faced by our customers who are inexperienced in terms of flying, and therefore they might feel miserable and might not have a rather that enjoyable customer experience inside our airport. The last one will be the boredom. In terms of like our leisure customers, when they're actually spending over like 3 or 4 hours inside the airport, especially when they're transiting from one plane to another, or they're actually having their flight delayed, they cannot actually find something that is pleasurable to do, and therefore feeling bored inside their journey inside our airport. And therefore, we would like to tap into their emotions and actually change them. Introducing you Cafe AI. Cafe AI is going to be a generative AI that personalizes the information and guidance needed for your pre-flight journey. And not only do we provide the basic information in an initiative way, say for example, telling you about the flight time and schedule being so basic, but we will also actually ask you about anything under the guidance. For example, we'll suggest you questions with where do you want to go after arriving? For example, how do you want to reach the boarding gate, and when do you want to reach it? Or even after whether or not you want to book a transportation after arrival. Many of these questions will be prompted, and you can actually ask different kinds of questions according to your needs. In terms of like for the business customers, we can actually illustrate how we tap into these pain points by our generative AI. Looking into our generative AI functions, it can be actually asked anything about our customers, but these are the 3 key functions that can actually be used by our business customer that can solve their busy pain points. For example, they can actually get to know their optimal time to arrive at the boarding gate. We understand that many business customers are actually having a very short period of time, and they do not want to waste maybe like 15 minutes or half an hour to actually just simply wait to be boarded. And therefore, based on our data and our analysis in terms of like how many people are queuing at the boarding gate, we'll actually like to predict the optimal time for our customers to get into the boarding gate and get onboarded, and therefore reducing their waiting time and improving their customer experience in the airport. Secondly, we can also provide them with an easy way to find the vacancy of the phone booth or the charging spot for our business customers. We understand that many business customers actually are in need of different kinds of phone booth to make a meeting, and we can actually help them to identify the vacancy of them, where are these vacant phone booths are, and whether or not we can help them book a room. These can all be done by their communication with the Gen AI. And last but not least, when they're actually going to a certain destination for their business trip, we can actually help them to connect with the traveling agency and actually try to book a transport for them, be it public transport suggestion or actually helping them to connect with a taxi or Uber as well. Next up, we're also happy to have Gen AI to actually tap into the needs of our inexperienced flyers. One of the very major concerns would be they are in difficulty in actually finding the correct pathway and the correct airport facility they need to reach to. And therefore, we'd like to not only utilize Gen AI to answer the questions about where to find the facility, but also utilize the technology of AR to demonstrate how they can actually find the pathway to the correct destination. On the other hand, we would also like to recommend more traveling spot and also help them to explore different kinds of shops or restaurants inside the airport through AR. Not only do we guide them verbally, but also showing them exactly how to walk with our AR guidance. Last but not least, in terms of for our leisure enjoying customers, they might sometimes feel bored during the transition between flights or actually spending a lot of time in the airport. And therefore, not only do we actually help them to explore the destination in the AR again, or actually helping them to find the optimal time to queue up that actually reduces their waiting time and reduces their boredom, but also we would like to help them to explore the entertainment services that is available in the airport or provided by the Cathay Pacific. Since many of the customers actually do not know where to access the, for example, launch of Cathay Pacific, or whether or not there are any special customer services provided by Cathay Pacific. With Gen AI, simply by a question, for example, I'm bored. I want to play something that is suitable for my kid. Where can I find them? These kind of questions can actually utilize our Gen AI to answer their question and directly point to the destination that they should go to or the exact service that they should access to. Illustrating all of these by a more specific customer journey would be an example of an experienced business client. When they're actually in their departure journey, at first, when they're actually reaching into the airport and check-in, they do not know where to find, and therefore, they can ask about the check-in process from the Gen AI, and also understanding more about how they can actually walk through the airport. Secondly, they can also actually find more airside activities based on our recommendations. Last but not least, they'll actually be able to actually board by finding the optimal time. Overall, we'll actually hope to bring key benefits that is improving our customer experience in our pre-flight journey. And now I'll pass time to Regis to introduce more about the in-flight.
Thank you. So improving the departure experience is very important for our customers. And moreover, we think it's also very important that we retain our customers during the in-flight process. And therefore, we are introducing Takeoff. Takeoff will deliver unparalleled comfort and satisfaction for our customers through a customized experience. And how do we do so? We'll use demand forecasting in order to drive our customized experiences. So again, as identified by Tiffany, we have 4 main customer segments, being the experienced businessman, the first-time business trip goer, the frequent traveler, as well as the anxious first flight person. And in general, there are a few key emotions that we're trying to tap into to improve their experience. So many of them feel irritated by the poor experience, or that they are very anxious, nervous about their trip ahead. And so how can we help them feel calm and comfortable in flight? Well, we will have to make sure that there is no information gap and make sure that the expectations are all met and understood. So currently, right now, when the customer books their flight, there will be an exchange of information with Cathay, the company. Meanwhile, Cathay will send perhaps pre-flight instructions to the flight attendants, to the staff on the flight to make sure that they know in general what their customers are like. However, there's a huge problem here. On a flight, there could be 200, 300 different passengers. There would be a huge information overload on the flight attendants. On top of that, there will be, previous slide, please. On top of that, in-flight, customers will make multiple requests for the flight attendants, making their jobs very difficult. And so we believe that with big data and AI, we can deliver in-flight customized experience that will minimize the information gap. So we'll collect booking information, perhaps through membership accounts or even our partners. Then with the AI, we can forecast demand for different services. And what services are we talking about? We'll be talking about seating, catering, and entertainment. And now I will quickly walk through each of them. So for catering, currently, customers are allowed to choose from vegetarian and non-vegetarian options. And then in flights, perhaps through the tablet or by requesting the staff, they can choose between perhaps 2 or 3 different meals. However, there's a huge problem here. So it's very difficult for Cathay to optimize the meal plans before flights. So in order to better cater to the demand, we'll look into our new solution. So we'll have a similar number of meal options, but using our data of the demographics of the flight passengers, we'll be able to identify perhaps how many people are from the departing country, how many people are returning home from a vacation. And therefore, we can offer meals that suits their taste. So let's say, for example, there's a flight from Hong Kong to Seoul. So in the flight, there could be 70% of them are travelers, Hong Kongers who are trying to go to Seoul. So they would like to experience maybe a taste of what Korean food is like. Meanwhile, the other 30% may be Koreans returning home, and they want a sense of home, a sense of belonging, and then we can provide them more special home food from Korea. Therefore, we can improve customer satisfaction and also streamline our operations by making sure that there's no meal that is unsatisfactory. As for entertainment, so our leisure flyers, they nowadays, many of them just use Netflix and they download their own movies. So where's the value add of our in-flight entertainment system? We believe that through our big data analysis, we can deliver a customized set of movies. And this means that instead of having a huge library of movies that maybe the customers are not interested in, by analyzing their demographics and analyzing their customer data, we can figure out what movies they're most likely to watch, and therefore we can recommend it to them. And for business flyers, perhaps they don't have time for any entertainment or movie watching. And so instead of that, we can personalize business content for them. So if they're on a business trip and they want to conduct due diligence, they can do so in their flights instead of watching movies that perhaps they're not interested in. And lastly, seating. It's very clear that everybody wants the best seats on the plane. A family might hope that their kid gets to look outside of the window. A business class flyer or maybe a business flyer flying economy just wants a comfortable seat where there's no babies around. And so by having our AI system to optimize, we can figure out where the business class flyers are and where perhaps the families, solo trip travelers are, and we can arrange the seats this way instead of the currently maybe first time, first served or a pre-allocated basis. And therefore, I would like to highlight that there's synergy between our pre-flight and in-flight strategies. So in terms of our departure strategy, get ready, we not only help them from the check-in to the boarding process, but we also get them to use the Cathay app. And through the Cathay app, they will be able to customize their services, and which leads to the in-flight experience. In flights, they feel very comfortable, calm, and ready for their exciting trip ahead. Ultimately, this will increase loyalty and retention, and it also emphasizes our CX Cathay CX experience. And now I'd like to pass my time to Tommy to summarize our case.
Thank you, Regis. So moving on to impact on financials, we see the most important part in this case is not necessarily about profit or revenue, but about how can we actually connect with our customers to deliver that customer centricity that Cathay prides itself upon. So for example, with Get Ready, we'll be increasing the amount of entertainment that they're provided from Cathay. For example, the number of users that are using those kind of entertainments provided by Cathay, as well as our engagement pre-flight as well. Moreover, we will be reducing the waiting time of our customers inside of the airport through helping them better navigate, to helping them to do better demand forecasting, for example. And regarding Takeoff, we'll be first of all reducing the cost in terms of entertainment contracts, because we can actually be selecting these sort of entertainment, for example, films or movies based on the demand instead of having an annual subscription, which is more expensive in this situation. Moreover, we will also be enhancing our operating margin because we can provide less of the excess supply that is going to be provided on flight. Regarding revenue projection, we'll be increasing a 6.9% revenue per year in the next 3 years. That is mainly driven by the enhanced customer satisfaction, driven by our services provided pre-flight as well as in-flight. So they are mainly driven by increase in entertainment provided, the reduction in time that is necessary before flying, as well as the percentage of importance in selecting their airline company. Next slide, please. Because we see that each of the customers have a different need in terms of, for example, businessmen, they care more about how fast can I actually get on the flight. Or for leisure travelers, they care more about entertainment. So we've actually allocated the relative weights in terms of their consideration. And after considering, for example, how much of a lead time can we actually reduce, times that kind of criteria's importance, we've gotten a conclusion in terms of how much of the customers are actually being more satisfied with Cathay. Therefore, that will convert into the increase in number of customers flying with Cathay instead of our other competitors. In terms of cost analysis, for example, for entertainment, we will be providing 20% of our entertainment in terms of a variable, always changing basis, and still keep 80% of them as fixed, because we see that it might be overwhelming for Cathay to have all of its entertainment being changing every single flight. So we see 20% is the perfect room over here. And as for others, we see that demand forecasting can actively reduce redundant costs, which increases 1% in terms of the operating margins. Regarding CapEx, we will be spending 1 billion HKD, which I'm happy to discuss later in the Q&A section. Regarding implementation timeline, we'll first of all be establishing all of our necessary infrastructure in the first phase, and then after that, in around the third quarter of 2024, we'll be able to launch all of our products to Cathay's current offerings. Tomorrow's key action point, we need to develop the necessary infrastructure, recruit talents, as well as market research. For risk gap mitigation, we see that we can happily discuss it in the Q&A section as well. So to conclude everything, we see Cathay, its main revenue driver is not necessarily about how many flights it actually have, how many aircraft it has, but the most important part is about the customers. How much do they actually be satisfied with Cathay Pacific services? Therefore, with our recommendations, we're tailoring towards different customer segments. No matter you're a business traveler or you're a leisure traveler, we're catering towards your needs. Thank you, and we're now open for Q&A.
Thank you, Team HKUST, for the presentation. We'll start the Q&A session now.
Hi. First question. So your proposal assumes 6.5% revenue growth. What do we think currently are the barriers to revenue growth for Cathay?
Thank you for your question. In terms of current barriers for Cathay's revenue growth, we see that in the past couple of years, Cathay has been hit significantly in terms of its revenue due to a significantly lower demand in these situations. So we see that even though the cargo side might be good, however, on the passenger side, it's taking a huge loss. So the major barrier is in terms of the utilization rate of your aircraft. For example, there's only 10% utilization on your passenger aircrafts. So that is a huge barrier in terms of revenue growth rate. However, when we're seeing customers that are coming back to traveling, what we're trying to do is cater towards their needs, their satisfaction, so that when they're thinking, oh, I need to go to my next travel, I would choose Cathay. So we do not necessarily see that as a potential barrier for revenue growth in this situation.
I'd also like to add on a bit. So we believe that the second barrier is the increased competition in the airline industry. The reason is because there is more and more cheaper options than Cathay Pacific, such as the budget airlines. And how can we differentiate ourselves and protect our economic moat, which is in-flight experience? Because the biggest product differentiation that we have compared to these low-budget airlines is that we have better services and products offered in the departure stage as well as in the in-flight stage. And that's the reason why today we highlight the importance of customer experience and provide you with two strategies to increase your customer experience and leading to a better competitive advantage compared to the other competitors.
Okay, I'd have a question regarding your data and Gen AI strategy, working towards that. I think if you want to make recommendations based on historic data, based on customers' preference and so on, you need to have a lot of data already, say, analyzed, stored, captured, and verified in order to do so. On your timeline plan, that was a rather short part at the beginning to get the tech ready. Is it really that short, or how is your thinking of how to line this up within your overall strategy?
Regarding the implementation timeline, we see that not only are we capturing the current demand or the current data for Cathay Pacific, but we also have an abundance of past data. For example, we have the previous customers that have traveled with Cathay for over decades of years. So we see that these are data that we can leverage upon. So in terms of data accumulation, we don't necessarily see this as an issue. But regarding other factors, for example, technological investment or infrastructure that is being required, we see that, yes, indeed, it might take a little bit of time. However, we see that through outsourcing our part of, for example, in terms of marketing research or in terms of Gen AI development, these sort of elements to more specialist companies, we see that the 6-month wind-up time is going to be appropriate.
Do you really think you have the data in the past for decades of customers flying with regards to the recommendations that you want to make towards the customer satisfaction?
Yes. So thank you for your question. So one of the core strengths that we highlighted that Cathay Pacific has is your strong customer base. So in terms of primary data collection, we have some data, for example, the flying frequency, nationality, their preference based on their background. But however, what we're increasing right now in our strategy is the secondary analysis. So how can we transform these existing data from our members and past passengers to meaningful insights? And that's how we leverage on the generative AI. So we believe that we do have the existing data, we do have the existing capability, and our strategy is bridging the gap between data as well as the technology to provide more insights.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Team USD. So you mentioned at the beginning very rightly that we are transforming ourselves from an airline brand to our premium travel lifestyle brand. So all the recommendations are quite linked to the travel journey. How do you think this can benefit us from the lifestyle side of things as well?
Yes. So thank you for your question. So first of all, we would like to highlight that whenever a passenger goes to an airport, he or she actually has quite a very positive emotion because let's say I'm going to travel to Paris. I'm definitely very, very excited. And the part that we want to do is to decrease the barrier of accessing to this very happy lifestyle, which is no matter it's traveling or business trip. And we believe that why our strategies fit to your lifestyle needs is because, first of all, we're very comprehensive. In terms of lifestyle, we focus on entertainment, meals, the whole journey in, for example, shopping. This is a very comprehensive focus on the needs of daily lives of our passengers. In the airport, they currently have, for example, clothing, apparel. They even have massage. Like this whole suite of products is already there. And what we're doing is to bridge the information gap with the existing facilities and what they need. So we do believe that with our recommendation, we're catering towards the lifestyle needs of our passengers.
When you started the presentation, you talked about Cathay's shift from just a travel company to a lifestyle company. What do you think are the steps they've taken so far when in that transition?
In terms of the transition to more of a lifestyle company, we believe that Cathay Pacific has been tapping into areas, for example, during in-flight, there's more recommendations in terms of what kind of in-flight purchases that you can actually make. However, we see that these kind of pivots are less linked towards the traveling emotions in this situation. So we see that there is a gap in between of Cathay's current offerings and what the customers are actually expecting from more of a lifestyle company. So they expect beyond a selection of products on Cathay's flight where you can look at and maybe purchase it. There's not really that sort of a connection with traveling. So what we're doing is we're bridging between the gap to reduce their negative emotions, for example, irritation in waiting for different things, or in terms of providing them a more accurate recommendation in terms of, for example, what are travel locations that you can go later through our Gen AI platform. So these are tapping into the exact emotions that they're looking for in a lifestyle company.
And based on what I remember, I know that HSBC and Cathay themselves, we also host and sponsor many events. One of the ones that I'm most fond of is the Rugby Sevens. So I think in terms of lifestyle and developing yourself more than just an airline brand, you're doing very well and tapping into more activities outside of just traveling. And there's also a strong synergy between like sports, maybe other extreme activities such as Rugby Sevens, is that it drives tourism in the countries that, or in the places that they host. So I think ultimately when it comes to lifestyle, Cathay is branching out beyond traveling, and by tapping into these tourism driving events and sponsoring certain events like the Rugby Sevens, it's able to create a grander brand image beyond just traveling. And it still is in line with the excitement and the fun of going abroad on a holiday. Thank you.
One question related to Gen AI. So we do serve a very diverse audience in Cathay. How do you go about launching a Gen AI application to those passengers who might be less tech savvy, that they even struggle maybe with a mobile app or self-service that we provide?
Thank you so much for your question. Indeed, Gen AI and between less tech-savvy customers, there might be a gap between. However, according to the current technology offerings by Cathay Pacific, we'll be using an app to check different kind of flight status or checking about different kind of flight information. And this requires them to actually check different information and requires them with even a higher technology capability. But however, with a Gen AI, what they actually need to do, for example, to an elderly is simply to actually entering their questions, and the Gen AI will automatically provide all the solutions needed towards their answer. And we believe that although this process still are actually requiring different kind of technology skills, however, it already has reduced the barriers towards them to actually use our technology capacity.
I would agree that Gen AI can help lowering the access barrier a bit. You also mentioned augmented reality, finding my way through the airport. Just from your perspective, what all is part of that? Say the local home base airport and guiding around. What if I fly to Korea and I land in Seoul? And will you also have the Seoul airport AR-wise in the app and the others?
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. Yes, indeed, we hope to actually launch the AR that are applicable to all airports. However, understand that this actually takes time because it requires many data from different airports. And therefore, in our approach, we hope to that at the very beginning, we'll have the very basic text and also the map direction guiding for our customers to use. But in the next step, we are actually at the same time collecting more data to actually make our AR come true in all airports, and therefore making our international flying of our customers being more possible and making sure that they can use this AR function anywhere they fly to.
And when it comes to the actual implementation, we also took into consideration that it's not possible to have this available in all the airports that Cathay serves right away. So we're looking at an initial launch to pilot the idea in Hong Kong, perhaps in between 2024 and 2025, depending on the development pace. But of course, in the near future, we know that Cathay serves about 30 different countries, almost 100 different airports around the world. So we hope to expand this idea to cover different airports around the world. And we can do so by collaborating perhaps with the local airport authorities and to develop this system of like the AR or even the Gen AI, where they can provide recommendations based on the actual facilities they have in each airport. So right now we'll do Hong Kong first. That's where we're based, and that's where we would like to pilot the idea, and we can expand further to the other destinations.
A question. One of the challenges or the revenue comes from increased competition, and then you specifically mentioned low-cost airlines. What do you think drives customers to switch from a low-cost airline to a premium airline?
Yes. So we believe that the driving force of switching from Cathay to a competitor, which is a low-budget airline, is the price sensitivity of these customers. Because different services target different types of customers. And we are not competing with the low-budget airlines in terms of price. So this driving force is inevitable, but we're trying to mitigate this risk by uplifting our customer experience. The reason is because compared to other competitors in the same segment, we already have a very, very high CP value, which we like to, in Asia, it's a phrase to describe the fact that our price actually deserves the value. Therefore, we believe that the target audience that we're targeting is not the ones that are the most price sensitive, which price will drive them to our competitors, but rather the ones that will stay with us and look into and value our customer experience.
One more question related to Gen AI. So for us to adopt Gen AI extensively across the business, it does require significant change management effort, which we also taught a little bit of that in the case as well. So some business unit might be worried that what if there's a wrong answer we give to customers? What if the model is hallucinating as well? So what would be some of the steps that we can take in driving this change management effectively?
Yes. So first of all, we would like to take a bottom-up approach. The reason is because we want to understand the needs and the pain points of the frontline officers, such as the airport workers in the front line or the flight attendees. So we will first understand what's their current pain point, for example, the overwhelming information that they are getting per flight. After understanding their needs, we will be able to cater to their needs by streamlining the information with AI. And the reason that we're taking a bottom-up approach is we don't want to change from a top-down approach so that the company's direction is changing, but the employees are not implementing. So that's why we would communicate with the frontline officers to understand their pain points first, which we also very value the employee satisfaction.
I was thinking still about the data in that respect. How do you see the make versus buy angle in using all this data? Is it something that an airline should do and acquire and develop all by themselves, or is it something that you can acquire from the market?
It is actually a great idea because looking at the current Reddit IPO, their main driver was Google using $60 million to purchase data from them. So we see that that is totally feasible and could be a great idea for Cathay Pacific to inquire data from other sources as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.